Hi, I'm Julia Cordova, and I'm going to do a video today about how to catch bottoms and call tops. Pretty irresponsible, right? Nah, no, not at all, because I'll tell you why. When I was a new trader, you'd always hear buy the dip and sell the rip. But I got really confused when I was a new trader because I was like, when does a dip constitute a trend change? When does a rip constitute a trend change? How do you know if you sell something at the top or if you buy something at the bottom? How do you know it's the bottom? How do you I just I just didn't understand any of these things. So really, what this is about is how to identify support and sell resistance. That's not so irresponsible, is it? Nah, no, not at all. So anyway, I thought first what I would do is I would, I need some street cred here, internet cred, right? A lot of you just started following me. You don't know my track record. I mean, you shouldn't be getting advice from people that you don't know whether or not they have a good track record at doing this. I will tell you, some people who've been following me are continually both. I don't even know if the word is impressed. I think they're probably just like, what? How is that? And anyway, I will try to give you as much insight as to how I do this as I can. And in the course of doing that, I hope what I'll be able to do is tell you how to look at your own trading and figure out how you can also have a superpower. I don't know whether it's my superpower or not. It might be a different superpower, but I will give you I hope, very good insight into how you can, in fact, become so much better than you are right now, no matter where you're at in your trading. I feel this. I feel the advice that I'm going to give you today is advice that I can still take today and be better tomorrow, next week, next year. So this is exciting. Okay, so let's look at some of my bottom catches, because that's like my specialty. All right, here we go. Now I gotta put it picture in picture. Did that work? Yeah, okay. So I made a Twitter moment, and also I got somebody said I had, when I was wearing my reading glasses, that they were reflective and they were distracting, so I got new reading glasses that are supposed to be not reflective, but you know what? They give me like jaundice. I don't know if you can see. They make my eyes look yellow. It looks like I have liver damage. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, so I made a Twitter moment of my, some of my catches that I've gotten, that have gotten some good vibes going on Twitter, and here it is. Now I don't even know how to tell you to get to this moment. I guess I would have to maybe publish it with the thingamaboo, with the video maybe. I don't know if I can do that. I'll try. Okay. So anyway, I call myself the bottom catcher master of the universe because like I just didn't have anything else to call myself, and I thought that was like a really cool title. It's like my superhero, bottom catcher. Okay, anyway, let's look at this first one. So on May 30th. Okay, so I don't know, and I hope you think I'm not touting my own horn. I'm really just trying to just give you some street cred here, and I'll talk about, though, the different aspects of each of these. Anyway, so I don't know if there's an official name for this pattern, but JNUG has formed what I refer to as a reversal flag. Now, a reversal flag is any kind of flag, whether it's a bear flag or a bull flag, that has the flag part pointed in the opposite direction of a bear or bull flag. So if it's a bear flag and not pointed up, it's pointed down, that is a reversal flag. And that is what happened in JNUG. And that is why on May 30th, I said today it closed above my dotted reversal flag. Now, I used to be a little less, I don't know, crazy, a little less forward, a little less, I don't know what the word is, but let's see here. And I say this here on the same May 30th. I don't think I need to say this, but this is a bottom catcher play, and the trend is down. Scaling in is advisable. This is something, it's a pattern in my toolkit, whatever. But anyway, let's see what happened on May 30th. I put a little blue line there. This is May 30th. What? That's good. That's a good call. And so anyway, I called that in particular because it was coming out of my reversal flag. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later when I talk about how you can figure this out yourself. Okay, so the next one is oil, the weekly oil chart. So if you look at this, this was I don't even remember, published on June the 2nd, and I put a little yellow circle here and then a yellow circle where I thought it would be months later. So let's see here. That was on June 2nd, and let's look at the oil chart. There's the yellow circle. That's where I posted that. There's the yellow circle. Now this was an interesting one, right? Because I mean, some people could say that I got lucky. I don't know. It's totally skill. Luck in this market? No. Anyway, yeah, we got really close to what that yellow circle, but no cigar there. And then yeah, it was just wiggling around. It was just an interesting timing, because I really thought when it was here the week before, I thought I had zero chance of getting my little yellow circle, and then it so close, but very interesting, and I'll talk about that one too. Okay, so the next one on here that I want to talk about, oh, there's a natty one. I will talk about that later in a different video, because natty is a creature all to its own, and I've got something bubbling in my technical analysis on that one. It's bubbling. I like that one. And here, let's talk about gold. So on June 19th, I said, seeing a lot of short gold posts, and that makes sense because it had negative divergence, bearish divergence, and it looked like a wedge. See this wedge here? It was between two wedges, and everybody on Twitter, I don't want to say everybody, almost everybody on Twitter was very bearish gold, very bearish. All of the furus and gurus and churus or whatever they are were like, gold is so last year, staying in that 2016 range. Anyway, yeah, so everybody thought, because it was right on the border of this wedgie, that it was about to go down, but I did not think that. In fact, I thought that as long as she could just maintain that channel, because there's also a channel within this, that you know how I like channels, y'all know how I like my parallel lines. As long as she can do it, I think she's got in her to get to the pink dotted. And then, would you look at that right after I said that? And then, and then she broke that first pink line. And then I tweeted a separate tweet about, how this was like a really big deal. Because if you know how I got those pink lines, I explained that in the All That Glitters video. Is I went through and I meticulously with the OCD mindset and a bunch of popcorn and wine, mapped out every single one of those gaps that had happened at the last huge gold breakout, and they have been like magic for me. Magic. They have been just amazing support and resistance. Oh my gosh, that was so smart. I'm glad I did that, because all that data disappeared actually when I went back and tried to figure out or tried to look at it again. It's all gone. I don't know, it just disappeared off of that site. I don't know, but that's why I like this crap data site, because like, even though it's crap data, for whatever reason, it seems like it's the best data to have data points in. I can't explain it. I don't know, but it's just, I like that free crap data. It's got the best stuff going on in terms of gaps. The best. Okay, so let's go back and look here again. Oh, yeah. And actually, let's talk about that though. That call was on June 19th. So if I look here on June 19th, I didn't put a blue line on this one, guys, but there it is. There's June 19th. You can see it in my crosshairs. And then it just, when I said it was a big deal that it was breaking that line, and a big deal that it broke that second line because it did it the same day, I was like, oh, this is huge. And right around that same time, I will say, I saw huge ass volume. huge ass volume, and that was everybody and their brother buying the freaking breakout. That was a really important thing. Okay, so that was that one. And now let's go back and talk about I know a lot of you, oops, let me get out of that. Okay, so a lot of you just started following me recently. So the one that you probably saw, I think the one that definitely got the most likes. Look at all these other good calls, by the way. 18 likes, 22 likes. Yeah, so this one got 788, and it wasn't even that good. But let me explain why I said that, and let's see what we can learn from this. So that was this chart here. So if you had watched my weekly video here, the time before, I said basically there's a lot of dead space underneath this dashed line. It was underneath the dashed line when I did the video. And then I said that that basically if it falls below, that's just like, that's really bad. There's just because there's nothing there. And so how did I know to buy here? What was my thought process? Well, number one, it was on price support, but it was below RSI support. I don't mind that it was below RSI support, and here's why. That day, that Friday, was the last day of the month. It was the last day of the week. If you go through all of the candles for oil, you will find that very few, extremely few, especially ones that have a big range, don't have any wick on the bottom. That's why at the beginning of the day I said today is pin the tail on the candle day, because I knew for both ES and for oil that at some point on Friday it was going to turn around, and it was in my mind probably going to turn around pretty bigly, only because it has to, right? Or else it looks super bearish. And they don't like to give us certainty, guys. They don't like to tell us what's going to happen the next week. If it closes with just a little nub, that's kind of like, that puts the probability for the next week in the bad zone. It really does. So I was using that, so that logic, because it was end of the week, end of the month, and because everything had just been more, I was like, you know, there, and I think also somebody told me that at the end of the month they have to, all the funds like have to put all the money in or something. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, I just knew there'd be a tail on the candle just by looking at candles. I mean, not rocket science, right? So it was at support, price support, needed a tail on the candle. At the same time, I was looking at the very small little SPY candles, the 5-minute candles, and I started seeing big volume coming in. I was like, okay, this is, I thought, a pretty low risk bottom grab. However, I also said, because the chart was bearish, that I said, if you did see an opportunity to buy, would I go all in? No, I would not. So I went in 1/3 of a scale here. I really didn't feel like it was risky at all. Like, I guess it was, in the sense that, like, it's a little bit of an adrenaline rush to catch something like that, but I just thought it was pretty high probability, actually, or else I wouldn't have tweeted it. You know, I don't actually ever delete my trading tweets, ever, because that would be disingenuous, and that would be a disservice to not only you but to me, because I'm not doing this for you. If I were doing this for you, I'd be charging you $1 bajillion. I'm doing it for me, so that I can figure out, you know, so I can keep myself honest, basically, and then I can also track myself. And also, honestly, it helps me to see like what you're interested in and why you're bearish or why you're bullish something. So that helps me. It helps me trade better. Anyway, this turned out to be a pretty good call. Now this chart, because it is the crap data, is actually not completely correct, because if you remember, Sunday night, oil actually gapped down quite a bit and then it came back up. So it doesn't really show in this chart, but yeah, at the end of the day, I basically said, take some profits, reduce risk. And for me, that was changing from a very high leverage position to a lower leverage position. For some people, it might mean going from $1,000 invested to just $200 invested. It's just, you know, it's always nice, especially if you're catching a falling knife, and it's right before the weekend, and you can't monitor it, you can't like sit there and know what's going to happen over the weekend. It's always nice to deleverage yourself in some way so that you are not doing the hope and pray method of trading. Okay, and so then it formed, I should talk about this more. So then it formed a bull flag, which was could have been awesome, and I was hoping, of course, that it would break out of the bull flag to the upside, and if it did, it would be right here at my dashed line, and that would be a very perfect time to add right when it got above that dashed line, because it's been breached a couple of times. It's a weak line. I feel strongly still that if it ever got above that dashed line again, it will, that's just, I mean, I don't know what will. I don't know. It looks unlikely at this time. But anyway, and yeah, if you do look at this, let's talk about how bearish this looks. This is a lower low on an already yucky looking chart. Now, it kind of does look like one of those things. I'll have to look at, I think Adam calls it a expanding pattern thing. I don't know, I'll have to ask him. But it looks like one of those things. I might draw that in after this video. But anyway, it looks like crap. Now, the people who bought here on Friday, this was actually what I was talking about, that if you don't see a bottom, don't be buying a bottom. Like, because this looks like, I'm not even looking at a weekly chart. This looks like a very yucky little tail, doesn't it? Especially given how red everything was. It looks like even on the daily, that would be a very yucky little tail wick. Ew. Yeah, I don't like that. And look at two, it's at resistance of the toilet line. How do I do that? Anyway, okay, so yeah, I mean, it's possible that it goes up, but you know, somebody could say, well, look at this divergence. So here's the tricky thing about divergence. It looks like divergence right now, but if it were to open lower, would that be divergence? Nope, that would have gotten corrected and would have opened, if it opens lower than on the 4 hour here, 15.89 RSI, that divergence is no longer there. No divergence. And in fact, then it's, so I also tweeted a while ago that, you know, buying things that are oversold and selling things that are overbought is bad strategy. And here's why. Because when it gets in one of those zones, it tends to go into turbo zone. It tends to go into turbo zone. Even if it's just wiggling around under overbought or oversold, it will turbo zone whatever it's doing. So it's just, you have to be very careful if you're using that as an indicator. I don't personally use that as an indicator, but I know a lot of people do. And it's a tool in your tool chest, but I don't know if it's a good tool or not. Well, that's your own opinion. Okay, so there's that. And also I said it was a leading indicator for, I thought, for ES right now. And I thought it was bizarre that ES didn't close also with a lower low, because it looked like it should. And I don't know why. Again, I'm gonna ask, I have a Bloomberg nerd that I follow, and I'm gonna ask him to be interviewed by me so we can ask him all the why questions. Because I mean, I kind of am interested, but no, I'm not really, because I feel like it's all hindsight 2020, and I feel like if you knew why things happened after they happened, then you know that then you would have been able to predict they happened before they happened. So you didn't really know that. You're just making up an excuse. It sounds really freaking smart. That's how I feel, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I just don't like backsplainers. I don't like that at all. I don't like people backsplaining things. Okay. So I'm going to tell you now how I got this superpower and what I look for, if I haven't already. But basically, the most common question I get via DMs right now is, Julia, can you please recommend a book for me that would help me to learn trading and be a better trader? And chances are whoever is asking me this is not a complete noob. They've probably been doing it for a while. And I'm going to tell you a secret. This is the best book in the world. This is the book you will learn the most from. This is a book I learned the most from. This is a book that I read like some people read the Bible. I read this book every day. I read this book every week. I read this book all the time. It is, wait for it, and I wish I could sell it to you, because then I would make a bajillion dollars, but it's free. It is your trading journal. It is your trading journal. Your trading journal will show you so much more about how to be a better trader than any book could ever hope to do. There are books that will give you, sure, they'll give you strategies and they'll give you methodologies, and I don't know, I've never read one of them, but this is what I've heard. I'm just telling you what I've heard. I'm trying to sound smart about this. I don't know, I've never read a trading book. Maybe they're great. I don't know, but I just have a feeling that if they were so great, then everybody would make money and that wouldn't be a market. Or maybe only a few people read the books. I don't know the logic. I just don't like books because they bore me. And unless somebody just dumbs it down for me and bullet points it, I can't be bothered. Even if it's money stuff, somebody has to explain it to me, or it has to be on video or something with like pictures and characters, and it has to be entertaining and possibly trash television. I don't know. No, I just can't. I don't with that. But your trading journal. When I first started trading, I would just be tracking when I bought, how much I bought. I would be tracking what my price target was and what my stop was. And that was the entirety of my thing. Now, you know what? That's still pretty advanced compared to a lot of new traders, because I still also get a lot of DMs from people saying, Julia, help me. I'm in this position and I don't know what to do. And I don't want to be that jerk that says, well, what was your plan when you bought it? Here's why. Because when I was a new trader, you know what my plan was when I bought things before I started journaling? It was to make money. Duh. That's my plan. That's not a plan, actually. That's a hope. That is a prayer. That is not a plan. A plan is knowing ahead of time, you know, when you will be wrong. That is your stop. And even you can say, and a lot of, like, some people really have a problem with this, because when it gets to where their stop is, they go, but this. Well, if you know you have a tendency to do this, you can even make that part of your plan. If that makes you feel better, you can say, I will sell here, asterisk, unless, and you have to be very specific about these conditions ahead of time. You can be. I believe in you. You can be very specific. You can say, unless there is divergence on this time frame, or unless there's volume. But you need something to be able to call yourself out on not taking your stop. That is so important. That is the most important thing. But anyway, that my trading journal used to be very basic, and then it got more and more interesting, and also more and more informative. So then I started being able to say, well, okay, I need to take a screenshot here, because even if I cut off this chart right here and I try to, in my mind, think, would I buy here and why? You know, if you're buying most of the time in the very middle of one of these wiggly things. And so these wiggly things, or your RSI, whatever indicators you're using, I just use RSI. I'm sure I'm in volume. I'm sure a lot of people, you know, have all sorts of different wiggly things or indicators. And what I look for in this is basically you have to take a screenshot right when you hit that buy button. And the reason is because if you were to, after the fact, try and do this, it will look different than it did at that time. So it is so important to take a screenshot when you make a trade, and that way in your mind you know exactly what you saw, and you're also holding yourself accountable. You're not like, well, it looked bullish. Well, okay, look back again afterwards. If it looked bullish and you bought it, and it just didn't turn out to be bullish, well, why was that? And, you know, I don't want to hear a fundamental reason, because that's like not allowed in this chat. But, you know, why did I think this at the time? Did it violate these things that I look for typically, or whatever it was? Okay, so take a screenshot, and also know beforehand where you're going to go. Okay, so there's that. Now, one of the other things, if you look at this JNUG chart, one of the other things I learned from journaling, when I used to take screenshots of things, I did used to take screenshots of these reversal flags. And really all it is a channel on a stick, like I said. So the more you are able to journal about your, I mean, that's the thing too, right? I should say this. So when I started trading, I had a small account that I was using to continue to trade the way I had been trading, which was very consistently badly and wrong. And then I would actually paper trade the exact opposite because I couldn't make the connection between I just couldn't. I'm not a dummy, right? None of us are dummies, but I just was so consistently wrong. It blew my mind how I was able to be profitable or not be profitable, like just being so consistently wrong. So basically, I started doing the exact opposite of what I thought was the right thing to do, and at whatever stop I would have in that account, I would buy at my paper account. All of a sudden, I figured out how to make money. I just needed to do the exact opposite of what my instincts were. I just needed to trust that I was that wrong and that consistently wrong. And everybody, if you start looking at your trading journal in a very analytical and unbiased way, you will see very consistently, I'm always early. Well, how much are you early by? What are we talking about in terms of percent? What are we talking about in terms of time? And somebody said once that their superpower was basically being right all the time and still losing money. Okay, so let's analyze that. That's very interesting. Why? How and why did you do this? If you have been very consistently tracking your trades, you'll be able to see how you can stop doing or at least trade around whatever your psychological problems are. I know I have a lot of psychological problems, I really do. But as soon as I stopped trying to fix them and started trying to trade with them instead of against them, that is when I started making money. So really, however, I'm just trying to convince you to journal, and I'm trying to convince you to journal in a very, very detailed way, and we can do a whole nother video if you want about creating those trading journals, because I think that's very important. But I don't even think I should, because I feel like if you figure out what to add, that's going to help you even more. And I think I did put a post on this sometime about like, go back and add this, and then add this, and then add this, and maybe I'll link to it when I post the video. But the very most important thing, the way that you can find your own bottom catching or top catching scenario is you don't have to have just good charts. You really just have to be very consistent. And if you know how you're consistently wrong, you can be then consistently right. And that's it. So thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for supporting me, and I hope that this was helpful. I hope that it was educational in some way, and I will see you around the interwebs. Bye!